The early phases of my planche progression have been a long journey of just mistakes, obstacles, and not appreciating research done to acknowledge or understand what to do to maximize my planche gains. Now, I may suggest that, due to my naivety and due to the lack of research in planche in general, I wasn't able to get sufficient understanding of what was required, and I merely just relied on just like those YouTube channels and YouTube videos where they just like preach planche leans or like pseudo planche push-ups, and they don't explain why. And while I do acknowledge that being naive to like the scientific like evaluation of such things can actually help with your progression, because you're unaware of how challenging the planche can be. Ultimately, I still feel like for me personally, I should have understood more of these processes. Just balancing static holds, dynamics work, bend time work, and conditioning work. Those were like the four main pillars that I think I should have appreciated a lot more in my early training sessions, and that probably would have accelerated my progression. So, why am I talking about this now? Like, why didn't I mention this earlier? And well, it was because recently I've been thinking about conditioning and chasing the pump. Now, for a while, I think, I guess like this bro science mindset has slowly been like creeping into my mind, with like this idea of like chasing the pump and its hypertrophy induced benefits. But that all seems to be things that are theoretically, I guess like I'm not sure if there's any practical value to chasing the pump, and I don't think there is sufficient evidence for me to even talk about it, and I don't have any of the qualifications to say anything about this, but from my understanding, I want to just suggest, or at least like ask to you guys, whether my understanding of the pump is correct. And the way I was trying to consider it is, how does chasing the pump benefit our conditioning work for the planche, and ultimately joint strength? Strengthening like the supporting muscles of the joint, stabilizing the joints, enhancing like coordination, and general like your peripheral skills, right? So why is it that when I started to implement conditioning work, why is it that I've suddenly started progressing significantly more? It's been around like 1 or 2 months since I've put conditioning into my training system, and this was all due to the help of Mantis Calisthenics. He's suggested it, and he helped me out with like programming, and I don't know why, but like those high reps and just getting that blood pumping through to your like muscles and your joints just seems to do the trick at the end of each training session. I I can't really put my like finger on it, and I'm not sure whether it's like due to the factors of recovery system, like increasing blood flow and nutrients like the avascular ligaments and joints. But I don't really know. But it just seems to work out. And I want to understand. I want to like acknowledge why this is the case. And I guess when I consider like, or when I tried researching stuff about like the hypertrophy benefits of like an induced pump, it seemed like there wasn't really much to provide evidence for its benefits. It was more just theories on how it works. So like for example, there was something about like the osmotic behavior of your muscle cells when you like get a pump, because by doing so it increases your I guess like your it stimulates like protein synthesis, and it reduces breakdown of protein. Again, I'm not qualified to like talk about this stuff, but that was what I heard and like researched. Another point was something about like the expansion of the muscle group, and something along those words. But again, I don't know why this conditioning work is benefiting my planche. Now, again, I could say stuff like, oh, well, it's improved my endurance and cardiovascular system, because of this, I'm better able to handle the load. I can just do more reps and I can recover faster. But I'm still under this, I guess, this prejudice that most of my strength gains merely comes from those dynamic bent arm work from pseudo planche push-ups, and the static training, so the dynamic work and straight arm work, is what builds the specific strength. And like when I use the analogy of like comparing a weightlifter to like a gymnast, suppose they have the same body weight, same height and everything, but the weightlifter is significantly stronger. They can lift like 3 times more weight, they can squat way more. So I would assume that their joint strength is significantly stronger, and their their potential strength is way larger than that of the gymnast athlete. So why is it that why is it that the weightlifter cannot do any of the calisthenics skills? Well, it's because of that specificity, that specific strength. And working from there, it's like, well, obviously there's an apparent view on like the peripheral skills that's demanded for like your joints as well. So maybe conditioning work also benefits weightlifting, and that can be overlapped into calisthenics. And again, like this session, I hardly ever record my conditioning work because I always keep it at the end, and it's pretty tedious. It's like 2 minutes of me just doing the same reps over and over again. But again, it's like the recovery aspect that's just benefiting me a lot. I feel like all my fatigue is flushed out after I do all of this work. And while there is a massive induced pump, and I feel like my mobility is lacking after like that session, the next day I feel good. And I don't understand the theory behind it. I want to understand why it works practically and how I can implement it better for my planche training. How does chasing the pump link to skills in general? And maybe I'm just deviating from some random notion, and like I'm putting too much emphasis on this, like, or maybe I'm just idolizing the pump too much, and like there's probably no correlation whatsoever. I'm sure that the gymnasts have significantly greater understanding of like bodyweight training skills, and thus they probably would know way more about this stuff. And like a gymnast would probably watch this video and be like, oh, well, the pump has nothing to do with training. So again, like I really wish for people to like bring in their thoughts, like discuss stuff, and just like provide their insight, because I feel as though I'm really lacking in that knowledge based stuff, according like in general with calisthenics theory and all that. And I've really only been relying on my practical anecdotes, things that just worked out for me, and something that I eventually just had to reason out. So it was more like I started doing a lot of planche leans in the early start of my planche journey, and they seemed to benefit my planche. So then I was in the mindset of being like, okay, planche leans practically or anecdotally helped me out. Why did it help me out? So now I'm in this notion of conditioning has helped out my planche. Why is it helping out? It's never the other way around. It's never, okay, I'm going to theorize everything and all of the like benefits that are required for the planche, any exercises that will help it out, and then implement it. It's never that way. And maybe the former way is the more practical way, or maybe the second way is the more effective way. I'm not too sure, and I really want to see how much I can improve in the future, whether it be like the theoretical potential or in general just applying new knowledge into the planche. And yeah, I feel like I'm just going around in circles and just like again, like going back to the same premise again. But I just can't stress enough how unusual it feels to be so well experienced with the planche, or sorry, I'll just invest so much time into the planche, but not really know what's going on. With like weightlifting, I feel as though there's so much more. It's so much more of a methodical approach that you can appreciate so much more of the training schemes like periodization, programming, and all of that. But the planche, since it's so new and almost a baby to the fields of calisthenics in general, um, it's just so much harder to try and find like a effective way of you know, preaching a program that works for everyone, and talking about exercises that are beneficial for all of the like planche demands. And yeah, it's a unique journey. I'm enjoying it, and I'm gonna see how much more I can pursue. So yeah, that's basically it, and I'll finish it off here.